That is too bad. Let's see what we got here. Are we live? Presentation. We'll start with this. Okay. Oh, damn it. What is this? Okay. Okay, we are live. Now, I'm not going to wait for people to come into the chat room. If anybody wants to watch this video, they can just check my archives. It will show up in the feed, in the subscription feed, once it is done processing. I thought about doing a recorded video, but I'm going to go ahead and do a live stream. For whatever reason, I get more motivation when I know a bunch of people are listening to me. So, we've heard a lot of pseudoscience around why black people have woolly hair. We've heard the theory that it helps our head to stay cool, right? To allow heat to release from our head. Now, I don't know how true that is because I've had afros several times, and when I shave it, my head is noticeably cooler. So I know for a fact, if you have an afro and your hair is black, your head is going to get hot. Right? You're going to have a hot head. I'm sorry. So, and I have not read that anywhere. I've not researched that, me personally. So I don't know how true that is. That seems like a bit of pseudoscience. But we're going to deal with facts and science on this video. We're going to stick to science, people. We're not going to mess around with no pseudoscience or nothing like that. I'm not here to play games like that. I got several channels and I don't deal with pseudoscience. Black people need to understand this clearly, that they are extremely old. Don't listen to these scientists out here, these European scientists, these Arab scientists who try to tell you that you are X amount of years old, or they usually go about 100,000 years, and they say, oh, 1,000,000 years ago you were monkeys, right? You were not really human back then. What is it? The Lucy remains, they project that she was like half monkey or something like that. Listen, these people don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't know how old black people are. They don't. You're talking about recent people who recently emerged on the planet trying to tell other people how old they are. I know they try to tell you that they can look at a bone and polish it or do something with it, and they can tell you how. No, they are liars. Keep that in mind. You got to keep in mind, their profession involves a lot of creativity. That goes for historians as well. They will tell you this. If they can't figure something out, they fill it in with fantasy. They make it up. Pretty much, like I said before, like I explained in the video, the entire history of ancient Greece is a myth. The entire history, ancient Rome as well. None of those people or civilizations ever existed, ever. There was no Alexander. There was no Plato, Socrates, none of that nonsense. They needed material for schools, right? During the Italian Renaissance era, the Awakening era, they started to build schools. And they needed some type of curriculum, so they made it up. And they used Egypt as the blueprint and sort of basically created their own white Egypt. It's all nonsense. But when it comes to black people's hair, Black people, period. You have to think in terms of functionality. How does it function for the organism? I'm going to deal with black people as a species. I'm not going to get into, the fist pumping black power. Black people, I think, deserve more respect than that. This is an extremely the oldest by far humans on this planet, intelligent species on this planet, and you need to show respect and deal with them in terms of functionality. We all know about melanin, right? We know the function of melanin, how it helps us. It even helps us to become more intelligent, right? It allows us to interact with the sun, and we all came from the stars. All humans, all life in general comes from our stars. And if you can't connect or bond with that gave birth to you, you're not natural to this planet. It's not rocket science. It's common sense. Now, as we all know, there's been a long history of black people being attacked because of their hair. You read this piece in the Wikipedia. It says, when African slaves were freed in America, they struggled to reach the social status of whites. Many former slaves tried to conform their hairstyles as part of this struggle. Let me stop there. No, this actually started during slavery, people. This started when the Africans were brought over here. It started when the Africans that were already here were enslaved, because they got cut off from their tools, from their, traditions, the knowledge of how to take care of their hair. As slaves, they're forced to keep it covered up. Now, just imagine, I believe I put this in a video in the archives. While their hair was unkept and forced to stay covered up, they also had to beautify white women's hair, right? The white women would have the slave comb their hair, style their hair, so on and so forth. So every day, the black female had to look at attractive white women who were well kept. That is where it really started, not after Africans were freed, right? It continues on. Women especially felt pressure to make their hair straight rather than keeping the tightly coiled style they had known. However, during the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s, African Americans such as Malcolm X advocated hairstyles such as afros and dreadlocks. I will also throw in there Steve Biko, who originated the term Black is Beautiful, in order to embrace their race and to return to West African roots. Social pressures at the time were heavily influencing these Americans, black women, to have straight hair like white people did. This resulted in the Black is Beautiful movement, wherein African Americans wore their long natural hair untreated and unmodified. More recently, hair extensions have become widespread. Scholars have pointed out that the continued pressure on black women to have straight, smooth hair. Amelia Jones points out that dolls for children, such as Barbies, add to this pressure, citing as an example a new black Barbie with straight hair. Blacks, she believes, should be able to be themselves without feeling pressured to tame their hair. End quote. Now that is an excerpt out of Wikipedia. You can check that out for yourself. Now, what I want to talk about here is genetics. There is a website. You can Google this. Google the phrase, "Is your dog some kind of degenerate mutant?" Now, according to white scientists, all scientists, I'm including white and Asian scientists, white skin is a mutation. So you cannot assume that only their skin mutated. Their entire body, inside and out, mutated. And that also applies to their hair. Straight, long, stringy hair is a mutation. Has nothing to do with anything else, especially not beauty. Now, in that article, it mentions hairy dogs. I don't know how many people are aware of this. Dogs are mutants. They mutated from wolves. One of the results of the mutation is long hair. In that article, it reads, the body of a hairy dog is covered with fairly long hair. So much so that the animal's face may have disappeared from sight. And you have to wait for one end to wiggle before you know which end to pet. We may call it cute, but the extra hair is a real burden to the dog. That is, unless you want to spend a lot of extra time keeping it clean. Clean so that eye disease caused by the hair perpetually irritating the eyes will be kept to a minimum. Even in the best cared for hairy dogs, blindness is a common end. Clean so that parasites, which hide in the hair, never worried by the dog's mouth or scratching feet, do not massacre your dog. I'm going to keep this brief. We need to understand everyone on this earth who has long, stringy hair goes through hell with the hair. Do you know long hair can cause an animal to lose its life? You know, when they don't keep up with these dogs' hair and keep it trimmed, just imagine a dog running away from a predator, a superior predator, and its hair gets in front of its eyes, it loses sight, runs into a tree, or runs into some type of obstacle. Now the predator catches up to it, kills it. Also, like the article said, bacteria, parasites get on the hair and then it gets into the dog's eyes. Well, with humans, it's even worse. There's another article. I think it's like 13 weird side effects of having long hair, something like that. Number one, and they started off with this because this is the biggest problem. Your hair gets caught in literally everything. Think about it, people. As a functional organism, how can that be beneficial? That's not beneficial. No matter if you're living in a civilized country or in the caveman days. Says seriously though, I can't even put on my seatbelt without managing to get my strands caught in the buckle. I've accidentally shut my hair in car doors more times than I can count. Let me stop there. See, black people, we are unaware of this. Black women may be aware of it because they put these people's hair on their head. And it blows my mind. All that swinging their hair and constantly moving the hair away from in front of your face. Nature did not intend for you to do that. It did not intend for your hair to be a burden like that. So it says their hair has been caught in car doors more times than I can count. And anytime I choose windows over AC, I always roll up at least one of my hairs in the car window. And that's just the car related ways long hair is always getting caught. Scratching my head with my watch arm is totally out of the question. Dangling earrings aren't worth the ear tugging frustration. And dress zippers are the bane of my existence. People, these people with long straight hair, they get their hair caught in everything. Everything. It is a rule that at work, at these industrial plants, they have to keep it tied up because it's a safety hazard. Your hair get caught in some machine, it pulls you in and grinds your face. Another one, number 8, says you accidentally sit or lay on it constantly. Think about this. Organisms are not designed to have their hair function as a burden like this. Lions have long hair, but have you noticed nature pushed its hair far away from its face so that it is not a burden to the lion? Have you noticed that? That is to compensate for the fact that it has long hair. Now, the mane only functions as protection, not a burden, like, say, with dogs. There is a huge difference here. It says I can sit on my futon, cuddle my cat, or do yoga without getting, I can't do any of that without getting my hair stuck between whatever surface I'm laying on, stretching on, in some part of my body. Not to mention all the hilarious set. Now, this is another problem. Many of you who have had intercourse with white women, Mexican women, any type of person who has that long hair, you notice, their hair will hang in your face, right? If they're on top of you. And that is annoying. Who wants that? And I've heard many black men say that they make their girlfriends, who may be white or Mexican, whatever, tie their hair up. It's a burden. You remember Beyonce kept getting her hair caught in a fan. Ridiculous. This child here got her hair caught in the escalator. People, this is not beneficial. These are situations where your hair can get you killed. Black people don't have to worry about that. Do you understand? When you swing your head around, you don't have to worry about your hair flying around and getting caught in your mouth. Again, anything can get on your hair. Parasites, bacteria, and boom, that crap is right in your mouth now. I know you see people, white people, all the time with their hair caught in their mouth. Hey, this woman got her hair caught in the car door, like they mentioned before. A revolving door, her hair caught in the revolving door. This long, stringy hair, people, is dangerous. It is counterproductive. It works against the quality of life for the organism. There is nothing that is beautiful about that. There's nothing that's evolved or superior about that. Just like white skin is inferior to dark skin, long stringy hair is inferior to woolly hair. Has nothing to do with how it looks. Nothing to do with being black and beautiful, all that. Right? It has to do with functionality. It has to do with nature making sure that your hair is not a burden. that it does not cause you to become injured or killed. So I don't subscribe to this. It's woolly to release heat. I've also heard that it coils because it mimics the spin of the universe, and that's true. It's almost everything in nature spins, like plants spiral out of the ground. Of course, we know clouds spin, the universe spins, the planet, everything spins in nature pretty much, right? And with the hair, I'm not saying that is not a part of nature, but the primary function is to keep the hair from being a burden to the organism. And these females have blowout kits. And the thing is, you see black people with afros, if they were to pull their hair out, their hair is extremely long. And then they let it go, boom, goes right back into the coil. That has a function, a purpose, and that is to make your hair as much of a non-factor as possible. Now, I know a lot of people may have their own personal theories or whatever. This is my theory, and I am backing it up with facts, with science. If you have some other theory, I hope you share it with the rest of us in the comment section.